Well, all right, guys, Bart with Bicycle Rider YouTube, and I'm going to do a review here on the Pinarello gravel bike. And of course, Pinarello has several different models of gravel bike, but this is one we're building up for a customer here that actually I've spent some time on this model. This is the Granger GRX 600x2. So this is a bike that I had as a loaner. This exact particular bike. This one's new to a customer that bought it off of a site and shipped it into us so we could build it up. And we do that here at Biloxi Bicycle Works. Of course, we're not a Pinarello dealer. But we're glad to build up any of these direct-to-consumer bikes. Like I said, this one was bought off of a bicycle wholesaler and sent direct to the customer. And the customer was, smart enough to send it to a bicycle shop, and we're happy to build this thing up for them. And this is a bike that I have had some history with. So while I saw this in the shop, I figured I'd do a little YouTube video on it, especially since in Biloxi, Mississippi. Look at that, right out our front door, we have snow. We are not used to snow here. It shuts down the whole town. I grew up in Colorado, and we kind of laugh when 6 to 9 inches of snow shuts down the town. But here in Biloxi, Mississippi, we don't have snow very often. This is unprecedented. We're calling this, Snowmageddon. And there's a good reason that the town shut down. We don't have the infrastructure to clear roads, and the roads are icy. And I just rode my bike to work because I was scared to drive my van. I don't want my van being wrecked. But anyway, while I was in here and it was quiet, I figured it'd be a perfect time to do the review on the Pinarello Granger GRX 600x2. A lot of people say, well, the GRX gear system, why would you want a 2x on a gravel bike? 1x is kind of where it's at. I raced a 2x gravel GRX system for years. I had the 800, not the 600. I think mine was the 810. It was a fantastic gear set. On the gravel race scene, there's sometimes when I wanted a little bit more gear range. And with the GRX, I believe this one is a 34 to 11 on the back, but on the front you got a 46 to a 30. So you have multiple gear ranges. And when you're on the gravel race scene, to me it was nice to have a big chain ring and a little chain ring. The thing with it is sometimes you drop a chain. With the GRX system, I raced that bike for 3 years and I never dropped a chain once. And if you did, sometimes you can flick it right back on with a front derailleur. You can't do that with a 1x. If your chain drops off the front with a 1x and you try to, I've seen people get their fingers caught trying to put it back in while they ride. It's best to take it off, get off your bike, undo the clutch right here, loosen up, get it on and get going again. Because I have seen people get their finger tip cut off trying to put the chain back on during a race because they didn't want to get off their bike. So sometimes there is an advantage to having a front derailleur. I'm old. I'm 55 years old, and I've been racing bikes for a long time. The 1x system didn't really come on strong over the last 10 years. So I race with a front derailleur forever, and I'm finding that a front derailleur does let you flick it back on if you need to. Now, like I said, Pinarello has multiple different models of gravel bike. I do think that it is a good looking gravel bike. So it's got the Onada swept fork. This is something that's very characteristic to Pinarello, and in their design they say that this helps with precise handling and vibration dampening. So that front fork I think looks pretty cool. You can see here it's quite sizable up here. It came with a 45mm tire, and definitely could put a bigger, some more rubber on there. Now the back is pretty tight, so I probably can't go too much more. I don't know if you could stick a 50 in there. And and nowadays tire clearances, bikes are starting to get built for more and more tire clearance. We're finding out that that's really instrumental in gravel riding, adventure riding, even gravel racing. It starts to get more and more popular. But it is a slick frame. This is one of their carbon fiber frames. It's really built for endurance, but it does have the mounts here if you need to mount a fender. It doesn't have a lot of mounts for bike packing. It does give you, 2 bolts up here for a bento box. And I like how the bento box on this is back a little bit, so it does it does allow for, you know, a bigger box if needed. There's no mounting points underneath like on a Trek checkpoint or something, but this is, and there's no mounting points on the front fork. But it's a slick looking gravel bike, and this is not their top of the line race bike, but this bike is coming in at about $3,000. Who's to say that's expensive? I think you can, you know, you might be able to get more bang for your buck in another brand or so. It's easy for me to say that, being a Trek, you know, a Trek dealership here. I'm a independent bike dealer, but I do sell Trek, and I think Trek's got a great value going right now. But there's a lot of Pinarello fanboys, and I can see why. I mean, just look how tight that bike looks. It is a slick looking bike, and there's just a lot of, you know, there's a lot of fanboys. Even look at this bottom bracket. You know, it is a threaded European bottom bracket, but it's beefy down here. And when I was riding almost the identical bike, it definitely was quick to accelerate. It was quick to put power to with the flat chain rings or chain stays right here. So this is also something that's, you know, kind of proprietary to Pinarello is their frame design. And I did find it very snappy, very fast, a bit stiff on the comfort side, but, you know, a bike like this really is is for speed. So they call the front fork a wave fork. It's got the ONDA carbon fork flap, fulcrum wheels. So these are the Fulcrum RR. I mean, it's just an aluminum wheel, and of course it is branded Fulcrum on the hub. Not the highest end wheel set, but I'm just looking at, I said 45 on the tire, but this is actually a 40. So I don't, you might be able to put a 50 in the front, but definitely not a 50 in the back of this thing. It's a, like I said, a GRX 600, 1134 on the back. Front is a 40/30. So you can get a really good gear range out of this bike for multiple styles of riding. The asymmetric frame is interesting. You know, every frame manufacturer has its own theory, and Pinarello realizes that you're putting more pressure into the drivetrain than you are the non-drive side. So they say what's an asymmetrical frame, which is supposed to help optimize the forces that the body is pushing onto the frame. You know, all those little marginal gains. As a guy that's been in the bicycle world for a long time and deals with multiple style bikes, I do believe that a lot of this stuff is actually, you know, valid. That, you know, Pinarello has put their engineers, you know, I'm not an engineer, but if their engineers say that it's optimized for the pedaling, I'm going to believe it. I definitely think there's probably some truth to all that makes a difference. And I think probably most bikes are doing something similar. They just might not call it out as an asymmetrical point of interest. So anyway, take a look at the way this, it's a carbon T600 UD, and it's a higher end carbon, and I do really think that it's slick the way this frame looks. This bike rides good, it's fast, it's capable. If you wanted to do some gravel riding on the recreational side, or around here we do a lot of urban assault, this is a fantastic urban assault bike. You know, it's fast, it's quick, it's you know, with the gear range on this, you can actually use this as a road bike, a road weapon as well. So this is a good candidate for one bike that can do multiple things. You can always change a tire. It's never going to be a, you know, Cat 1 road racer, but for general group rides and stuff, I think, you know, a bike like this that has a fast geometry, a slick looking frame. I have to say this bike comes in at about 23 pounds stock. Now that is with these Crank Brother pedals on it. I just weighed it a little bit ago, so to me it seemed a little bit heavy, but all fairness, this is not really the kind of pedal that people are going to run on. That's a little bit lighter pedal. All in all, you know, I've got a good opinion of this bike. Would I spend over $3,000 on a new one? If I was a Pinarello fanboy, maybe. But you know, as a Trek dealer, I've got a new checkpoint, and you know, I do get a discount on that checkpoint. I don't have to pay full retail, and I would have to pay full retail for a Pinarello since I'm not a Pinarello dealer. So it just makes sense to me to ride what I sell, and I really do like the ride of that checkpoint. But this is a slick looking bike. You know, if you're a Pinarello fanboy, and I get why, Pinarello makes some awesome bikes, and they're friggin' sexy. You know, I mean, they really are. And there's something about what looks to a bike. You know, I see a bit of a flared handbar or a handlebar here. I think that's about 3 millimeters. It looks like to me. I have to say, after racing the GRX hoods, these are very comfortable even on a longer race. Everything's going electronic now, but I really did like the way that this system felt in my hands, even at a long wintry style race. And people kind of say, you know, winter in Biloxi, Mississippi. But it gets friggin' cold here. I'm from Colorado, and it seems like 32 degrees here is absolutely bone chilling. 32 degrees in Colorado wasn't. But look, I've got snow outside my bike shop today. So there's definitely something to be said for a bike that shifts good. You know, and you have to force the shifting and your fingers are frozen. Especially during a race, it's not any fun. But just know, I think this is a real sexy looking bike. It's capable. I am a fan of a 2x. Even though this is not their highest end group set, the GRX 600 has proven to be super solid, super reliable. Maintenance on it was really, really easy. I have a lot good to say about the GRX 600, especially on a gravel bike. You know, this is something you're going to take out in the mud, around here today, the snow. You're going to put this thing through its paces, and it's nice when you don't have an expensive, oh, you know, there's no UDH hanger on there, universal derailleur hanger on there. But that's all right. It looks like a good derailleur hanger that Pinarello, I'm sure, has replacements for. So I don't know. This is a cool bike, and a size 50. You know, that's where I kind of had a little bit of a problem with a Pinarello. I'm 5'9". I'm not a big guy. Size 50 always seemed a little too small for me. And the next size up, I believe, was a size 55. And 55 seemed like it was big for me. I never could get really sized on a Pinarello on this bike. But then again, I didn't change out the stem, and I didn't do some things to it that could have made it a little bit more my size, because it really wasn't my bike, it was a loaner. But I do like the way Pinarello's got their stack on here. You know, you do have exposed cable for gravel riding. That, to me, that's awesome. It's easy to change something if you need to. Like I said, this is a two-piece bar, where if you needed to change your bar, you need to change your stem. Like, everything's pretty standard on this. With this stem, actually, you know, if you wanted to keep that look, you definitely have to go with more of a Pinarello style stem on that if you wanted to keep this aerodynamic look. But all in all, good bike. The seat's comfortable. The seat was very comfortable to me on this bike. I put the hammer down on this bike, and I really enjoyed it. And if you ever did want to make this a one-by, you could do that fairly easy. You could take that front derailleur off, and you know, the clutch, there is a clutch in that derailleur. So, but I'd leave it 2x. I'm a fan of the 2x gravel bike, even though they're kind of going by the wayside. They work really well. And then if you do want to use it as a road bike or an urban assault bike, it's nice to have a little bit more choices in the gear. So anyway, the Pinarello Granger GRX 600, like it says, around $3,000 in January of 2025. You probably see a lot of these on the used market right now, but if you're a Pinarello fan, and I can see why there's a lot of Pinarello fanboys out there, these are definitely some sexy bikes, and they're built well. This is a great gravel bike. If you're in the Biloxi, Mississippi area, come ride these things with us. We ride on Wednesday nights, urban gravel. We're also going to be doing a lot of gravel riding on the weekends. So hit me up, Bart at Biloxi Bicycle Works. If you like what we do here on the Biloxi Bicycle Works shop and on Bicycle Rider YouTube, just give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. It definitely helps us rank with YouTube, and lets me have a little bit of time to make these videos for you all. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here a little bit early and go play in the snow on my bike and try to get home before the roads ice up. But look how sexy that bike is. Pinarello is definitely that sexy brand. It's even fun to say, Pinarello. I might be saying it a little bit wrong, but you know, I'm a Biloxian. I would love to hear an Italian say Pinarello. They'd probably make it pop. Anyway, Bart with Bikes by YouTube. Over and out on the Pinarello. This is a cool bike. Granger 600.